I'm Priyanka Bish from Ardent Progressive School, and in today's session we will be continuing with the third chapter of business studies, which is business environment. In the previous class we have studied about the features and importance of business environment and also about the dimensions of business environment. So in today's session we'll be discussing about some features of New Economic Policy 1991, which will include liberalization, privatization and globalization. After that, we will be studying about impact of changes in economic policy on the business or effect of liberalization and globalization. And then we will study about demonetization. So these are the topics which we will be covering in this class, and with this we will end our third chapter, which is business environment. So let's get started. We'll be discussing about the features of New Economic Policy 1991, and under this we will discuss some elements of New Economic Policy. So there are mainly three elements. First is liberalization, second is privatization, and third is globalization. So starting with the first element, which is liberalization. Liberalization refers to the end of license, quota, and many more restrictions and controls which were put on industries before 1991. And Indian companies got liberalization in the following ways. First is abolition of license except in few, no restriction on expansion or contraction of business activity, reduction of tax rate and lifting of unnecessary control over the economy, liberalization in import and export, easy and simplifying the procedure to attract foreign capital in India, freedom in movement of goods and services, and freedom in fixing the price of goods and services. So these were some restrictions and control which were put under the industries before 1991, which after liberalization got access to all these. Next element is privatization. So in privatization, more role or greater role was given to the private sector as compared to public sector, which means many areas of business were reserved for public sector. And in spite of giving priority to public sector, this sector could not do much for the economic development of the country. That is why in 1991, the government of India adopted the policy of liberalization and globalization. So to execute the policy of privatization, government took the following step. First is disinvestment of public sector, that is transfer of public sector enterprise to private sector. Setting up of Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction, which is BIFR, and this board was set up to revive or close sick units in public sector enterprise suffering the losses. Third is dilution of stake of the government if in the process of disinvestment, private sector acquires more than 51 shares, then it results in transfer of ownership and management to the private sector. Now the last element is globalization. So globalization basically refers to the integration of various economies of the world. 1991 तक Indian government was following the strict policy in regard to import and foreign investment, such as licensing of imports, tariff restrictions, etc. But after new policy, government adopted the policy of globalization by taking the following measures. So first is import liberalization, which means government removed many restrictions from import of capital goods. Second is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, which is known as FERA, and it was replaced by Foreign Exchange Management Act. Now it is known as FEMA. Third is rationalization of tariff structure, abolition of export duty, reduction of import duty, etc. So globalization basically involves the greater interaction and interdependency among the various nations of global economy. Next is impact of changes in economic policy on the business or effect of liberalization and globalization. So there were many factors and forces of business environment which have a lot of influence over the business. These are, First factor is increasing competition. So after the new policy, Indian companies had to face all around competition, which means competition from internal market and competition from MNCs. इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी आने के बाद इंडियन मार्केट को बहुत सारा कंपटीशन फेस करना पड़ा क्योंकि ग्लोबलाइजेशन हुआ, दूसरी कंट्रीज से इंटरडिपेंडेंसी हुई, इंटरैक्शन हुआ, तो यहाँ पे कंपटीशन इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे आ गया था. So the company which could adopt latest technology and which have a large number of resources, they could only survive and face the competition. There were many companies who could not face the competition and they had to leave the market. For example, 1991 से पहले banking sector and insurance, telecommunication, etc. These were the only public sector who was enjoying the monopoly. Whereas now so many private banks, airlines, and telecommunication companies have entered in the race of competition. So here the competition has increased. Second is more demanding customers. Prior to the new economic policy, there were very few industries or production units. As a result, there was shortage of product in every sector. Because of this shortage, the market was producers oriented. But after the new economic policy, where many more businessmen joined the production line and various foreign companies also established their production units in India, as a result, there was a surplus of products in every sector. So 1991 से पहले बहुत कम प्रोडक्शन यूनिट्स हुआ करती थी क्योंकि कम इंडस्ट्रीज थी, तो वहाँ पे शॉर्टेज हुआ करती थी प्रोडक्ट की. सो 1991 से पहले it was producers oriented, market was producers oriented. But after new economic policy, as बहुत सारे बिजनेसमैन ने ज्वाइन किया, बहुत सारे इंटरनेशनल कंपनीज ने अपनी प्रोडक्शन यूनिट इंडिया में इस्टेब्लिश की, इससे क्या हुआ, there was surplus of products in every sector. So this shift from shortage to surplus brought another shift in the market. That is, the market changed from producer market to buyer market. Next is rapidly changing technological environment. So before economic policy, there was a small internal competition only, but after the new economic policy, the world-class competition started, and to stand this global competition, the companies need to adopt the world-class technology. And to adopt and implement these world-class technology, investment in research and development department has to increase. Fourth is necessity for change. So before 1991, business enterprise could follow stable policy for a long period of time. But after 1991, the business enterprise have to modify their policies and operations from time to time. 1991 से पहले business enterprise सिर्फ एक ही policy को follow कर रही थी, लेकिन 1991 के बाद जब liberalization, globalization आया, उसके बाद enterprise को अपनी policies में modification करने पड़े. Next is need for developing human resources. So before 1991, Indian enterprise were managed by adequately trained personnels, but in new market conditions, it requires people with higher competence, skills and training. Therefore, the Indian companies felt the need to develop their human skills. And the last is market orientation. Earlier, firms were following selling concept, that is produce first and then go to the market. But now companies followed marketing concept, that is planning production on the basis of market research, need and want of customer, because the customer plays an important role in today's market. So as we know, the whole impact of government policy changes, particularly in respect of liberalization, privatization and globalization. So this change has been a positive change. So there was some managerial response to the changes in business environment due to change in economic policy. Beginning with the first response, which is diversification. Diversification basically means the act or the policy of increasing the variety of companies' product. So the first response seen after the new economic policy is the companies are going for diversification. For example, there is a state-owned organization called BHEL. It said that with the new wave of economic changes, they will diversify their portfolio, which will include solar energy, transportation, and water business. Even the companies like Reliance, Voltas, LG, Samsung, all these companies are diversifying their activities by adding more product in their portfolio. Second response is joint ventures or collaboration and consolidation of multinationals. So as we know, we have studied in the previous class that joint ventures are the commercial enterprise undertaken jointly by two or more parties or organization for profit without forming a permanent partnership. जॉइंट वेंचर क्या है? जहां पे दो या दो से ज्यादा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक बिजनेस एंटरप्राइज चलाती है बिना किसी परमानेंट पार्टनरशिप फॉर्म किए, यानी सिर्फ प्रॉफिट के लिए काम करती है. So most of the multinational companies came to India through joint venture as Ford enters with Mahindra and Mahindra, Jaguar enters with Tata Motors, Honda enters with SEAL, General Motors with Hindustan Motors, and also now Vodafone is planning to merge with Idea. So these are some examples of joint ventures, or we can say consolidation of multinationals. Next is brand building. So after the new economic policy, the brand building, goodwill, and the image of the companies has become an important element for the promotion of the companies. Nowadays, the companies are well known for their brands. So the companies are now spending huge amount on various promotional activities. The promotional activities may include advertisement, sales promotion, etc. All these activities are undertaken for building brands. Especially in consumer durable industries, such promotional activities is prevalent, such as Samsung, LG, Sony, etc. Next is use of latest technology. So to get the first mover advantage, companies are trying to get the latest technology first in their product, which means their products are built with the latest technology from which the companies can get more advantage. But with that, the expenditure on research and the development department is increased by all the companies. Change in technology is very important for all the companies, especially companies in IT, computer, laptop, phone manufacturing, etc. So all these companies needs the latest technology product. Next is improved compensation level. As we know, with the entry of multinational companies, there is a lot of change which is seen in the salary package of all the employees in the managerial as well as technical services. Starting salary for the engineers and the management graduate has risen significantly. Companies are following performances like bonus schemes, incentives, so that they can get the better performance from the employees working in an organization. And it has quite become very popular. Now the last response is customer focus. So as we know, nowadays the market is completely dependent on customers. Customers play an important role for the markets. So the focus of the market is totally shifted from the producers to consumer. Today the consumer is the keep in the market. All companies are coming with the various schemes to attract the customers. So there's a tremendous difference in the nature and the quality of product offered to the customer today. Public relation has become a very important element of promotion. With this, it is concluded that in today's business environment, a businessman can survive and remain in the market only by appointing qualified professional experts, by adopting latest technology, by building or creating a brand image in the mind of customer, by understanding the requirements and need of the customers, by providing them products at a reasonable cost, also the quality product, and by keeping their employees satisfied by paying them fair compensation. So now moving on to the next topic, which is demonetization. So demonetization basically means when a country completely replaces the old currency with the new currency. That is known as demonetization. So on 8th November 2016, it was a day when 500 and 1000 denomination notes were withdrawn from circulation, and it resulted in the withdrawal of 86% currency in circulation. People were advised to go to the bank to replace old notes with the new up to a limit. So there was many restriction on cash withdrawal also. Main aim of demonetization was to curb corruption. So check on use of notes for illegal activities, and especially the accumulation of black money was generated by not declining in income to income tax authority. Now we will discuss some features of demonetization. So the first feature is demonetization as a tax administration measures. So due to demonetization, people had to declare their cash holding to get it exchanged from the bank, which means people who were having the old money, they have to exchange it from the bank to get the new money. So those having black money had to declare their unaccounted wealth and pay taxes at penalty. Second feature is non-tolerance of tax evasion. Now, what is tax evasion? Tax evasion is a crime of not paying all the taxes that you should pay. So demonetization also indicated that the government will no longer accept the tax evasion. Everyone will have to pay their tax. Third feature is tax administrating and channelizing saving into formal financial system, which means demonetization led to tax administration channelizing savings into the formal financial system, which means as much of the cash deposited by the people for exchange will be offered to the people for loan under the new schemes. So basically, it led the administration channelizing the savings into formal financial system, which means much of the cash that has been deposited in the banking system is bound to be withdrawn, but some of the new deposit schemes offered by the bank will continue to provide a base loans at lower interest rate. Now, the last feature is creating less cash or digital cash light economy. So it is an important feature of demonetization, which means to create a less cash or cash light economy, that is channelizing more savings to the formal financial system and improving tax compliance. There are some disadvantages of demonetization also. First is they require use of cell phones for customers and POS machines for businessmen. POS means point of sale. It is basically a hardware system for processing all the card payments at retail locations. Second is it required internal connectivity. So these advantages are basically balanced by helping the people into the formal economy, which means increasing financial savings and reducing tax evasion. Now here are some impacts of demonetization in particular areas. First, in the money or interest rate, impact was decline in cash transactions, bank deposit increased, increase in financial savings. Second area is private wealth, which declined since some high denomination notes, 500 and 1000, were not returned and real estate price fell. Third is public sector wealth. There was no effect in this area. Fourth is digitization. So here digital transaction among the users increased. Next is real estate area where the price declined. And the last area is tax collection with a rise in tax collection because of increased disclosure. So with this, we have completed the third chapter of business studies in this session. In the next session, we'll continue with the new chapter. So that's all for today. Thank you.